So, so welcome, Jim, Pascual, Augustin. I don't think I've ever said your name fully. It's really lovely to have you back at the Wheelbarrow, and to see you in this virtual space that can be shared far and wide. I know that you were wanting to share this on Facebook Live, and I hope that all of your networks and friends and family will be joining us and that they have the link. But thank you so much for making the time to be here and to share your work with us. You're a prolific writer, you're always writing, and you've published many books that I've read. And I remember meeting you originally in different poetry journals. I think New Contrast, New Coin, when I was still living in KZN, and you always were producing work, and your work and your name was something that I became familiar with long before you and I. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Long
yes.
before you and I ever met in person. So yeah, I I think I'll just open with a poem, and then I will just hand it to you. And the way that we structure our wheelbarrow sessions is that you read for 20 to 40 minutes, and then there's a Q&A, and then we have a small break, and then we have an open mic where we invite everybody in the room to share either their own work or the work of a poet that they would like to share with the rest of us. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for being with us. I am going to read a poem from Ada Limon from The Carrying, and it's a poem called How Most of the Dreams Go. First, it's a fawn dog, then it's a baby. I'm helping him to swim in a thermal pool. The water is black as coffee, the cement edges are steep, so to sink would be easy and final. I ask the dog, that is also the child, is it okay that I want you to be my best friend? And the child nods and the dog nods. Sometimes he drowns, sometimes we drown together. And with that, I hand it over to you. Thank you so much, Jim.
Wow. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you everybody for being here. I'm gonna have to apologize again and again. I keep taking my glasses on off. Um, they're very old glasses, and they're very scratched because the ones that I'm supposed to wear tonight broke the last minute. The lens fell off, and anyway, these glasses, I actually had them on when we traveled to India. I got called Gandhi Ji a number of times because of the way they look. Otherwise, yeah. Anyway, they they got scratched when I went swimming in a pool without taking them off because I forgot to, and the creepy crawly crawled over them again and again. So they're very scratched. So I have to take them off again and again to be able to read what I'm supposed to read. Um, Aside from that, thank you very much. It's a very cold, dark evening for all of us. I've got 4 hours of load shedding as this is going on. Thanks to ESCOM and Zuma and everyone else. Um, I'd like to thank the Red Wheelbarrow Poetry Collective. I don't know all the members, but the ones I saw on the Facebook page, there's there's Cindy, Lisa, Nondwe, Melissa, Edward, and Jacques. I'm not sure if I missed anyone else. Thank you very much to you guys for putting this up and for letting me share my work. I also want to thank everyone who supported my trip to the USA, both financially and in other ways that are not no less valuable, during the crowdfunding campaign, so I could launch my new book in the US, Waking Up to the Pattern Left by a Snail Overnight. Such a long title. We launched it in Seattle and New York, and I've got a few copies left with me. I brought home with me. So if anyone is interested, you can contact me later. Um, I will be reading mainly from the new book, but I'm also going to be reading from two previous books, Blood Red Dragonflies and How to Make a Salagubang Helicopter, and other poems, if there's enough time. I hope Cindy tells me beforehand, like, wave, Jim, you have to shut up now. um, yeah, I think I'm gonna leave my glasses off because I can't read what's in front of me. So I hope you guys don't mind. I'm also gonna be sharing some videos that amateur videos that I made. Hopefully they will work when I put them on for you guys to see. So I'm gonna start with reading from the new book, Waking Up to the Pattern Left by a Snail Overnight, which won the 2022 Gaudy Boy Poetry Book Prize. Um, it it was a surprise to me when they declared that my manuscript had won. Um, Sorry, is everyone still on? I just want to make sure. Uh, Oops. Okay, there. Um, and then it got published in New York, released in March, and I don't know how it's doing. There are no copies in South Africa except for the ones that I've got. Um, I think I also forgot to say thank you to everybody who's joining us tonight. All right. I'm gonna go ahead read something. Actually, it's gonna start with a video that I made. Um, it's called "My Mother Had a Concrete Garden." So I'm going to start the video and then I'm gonna show it to you guys just now. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see this. Cindy, I just want to check if it's actually showing up. Sorry, I'm actually, is it not showing up?
No, not yet.
There?
Okay, here we go. Now I'm seeing something.
There we go. Sorry. Okay, my fault. Okay, there we go.
Jim, should there be sound?
Oh, sorry. There's supposed to be sound. Is it not working?
No, not on my side. I was just wondering if it's
Oh,
silent or sound.
no, it's not supposed to have audio. So it's not working for you. No sound at all.
No sound on my end. I don't know about the rest of the
Same here.
group. Okay.
How's this? Single leaf. No?
Uh-huh. Yes.
Is there no sound?
Yes, now I can hear
Okay.
something.
Sorry, I don't know why. Can I try it again?
Sure.
My mother had a concrete garden. Pots she gathered of different shapes and state, some cracked, some battered, all unwanted, and past the concrete roads far from where the government stabbed the names of politicians in polls. She found soil that could hold young shoots begging to be nurtured. And this she did in silence. People thought
She was mute, but she hummed in the absence of an audience, in the hope a single leaf would push out of handfuls of soil. I was too impatient and missed when light green unexpectedly made her gasp.
Hi, did that work?
Yes.
Sorry about that. So I have to take off my headphones and put the speakers on loud so that you guys can hear it. So was it clear enough, Cindy?
I could make out what you were saying. It was a little bit glitchy, but I think for the most part, Georgia and everybody, I think everyone agrees that we could hear what the video was saying.
All right. Okay, so I'll just leave my headphones off and then yeah. All right, sorry about that. Um okay. Oh, sorry. Glitches. Okay, I'm gonna read another poem from the book. This one is called Concern. So I'm going to open it up so that, and then I'm going to share it with you guys. And then can you tell me if you can actually see it um, before I start reading? Okay, I'm going to start sharing. There, is it visible? Can
Yes.
okay, cool. Right. Thank you. Okay. Um, this poem before I read it, there's a story behind it. Um, near the end so that you'll understand. When I was a student, I was walking in the rain, coming home, and someone grabbed my neck, and I think he had a knife. It was raining. I had my umbrella. I had just opened my umbrella, and I was about to start singing in the rain. And then this guy grabbed me from behind, and I got such a fright. I threw my umbrella up in the air and I did a twirl, and then it was quite dramatic actually, the way the rain fell and all that. And then the guys got such fright from my scream. He ran off, and the people in front of me, a few meters away, ran to see how what happened and tried to help me get up. On the way on the way as I fell, my hands got embedded with tiny stones. Anyway, I got home, and then my mom and my dad took care of me. And yeah, that's just to give you a frame for the poem. Concern. At an angle and force unexpected, the severed end of a branch, thicker than my arm, touched my leg as I stood at the dump site, unloading garden prunings, made me pause in the grabbing and tossing upon a rising mound a few meters away from the swinging of an earth mover's metallic teeth. I winced. Today, I look at the scabbing wound, a brown red spot, nearly perfectly round. My mind crawls back in time, my mother's hands tending my aching palms after a bad fall, my father watching, so heavy with concern, he almost cried. The next poem I'd like to read is called After Seeing Mad Max Fury Road. I think with this one, I'm going to put my headphones on, if you don't mind. Um, I'm just going to get the text right. All right. Sorry about the slightly skewed text. After after seeing Mad Max Fury Road, in this world, water is a womb on a citadel of rock. There is a mad frenzy in the air. People move like spiders. Sorry, can you hear me? Is it on?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Starting again. After seeing Mad Max Fury Road, in this world, water is a womb on a citadel of rock. There is a mad frenzy in the air. People move like spiders, climbing nearly vertical walls. Even the children are not children, but remnants of old clothes stitched together. There's a crunch of sand between the teeth if anyone ever tries to speak. The women stay silent. A rusty dagger hidden between folds of skin. Max, stray as a muzzled dog, dangles on protruding lengths of metal. In the crush of rock and steel, something is bound to be broken. A chain, a twisted order, something else without yet a name will become flesh. Um, the next poem I'm going to read is going to mention Jacob Zuma and the seemingly long route justice takes. Let me just find the poem. It's called The Soft Criminal. The Soft Criminal starts with a quotation from Jacob Zuma himself, which he said on the 21st of February 2021. He said, "The law is soft on criminals." A termite is a slave to the scent of wood. It is unable to resist the temptation to carve what it craves until it grows hollow. Though it churns what once was stiff and towering, the belly of a termite remains soft. A bathtub of milk is a faint comparison. In a homestead where the only fire pool in the world lies, Jacob Zuma dreams of floating in milk as he laughs. He doesn't know that the milk is made from crushed termites. Their tiny legs and broken pincers, curved and straight in places, begin to form letters and numbers. They cling to his limbs. He tries desperately to shake them off, clawing at his own skin. Suddenly, he remembers how to bleed. The next poem is called And You Ring the Night. It's actually part of a cycle of poems that share the same title. The title, the phrase is from a song by Björk, and it's called Anchor Song. And in the original lyrics, she says, "And during the night." So I made each poem title roughly sounding like that, and then that same line appears somewhere in the poem. So the original line is "And during the night," and this poem is called "And You Ring the Night." So that's the poem. And you ring the night. You hold the phone, though it is a banana in the eyes of those who cannot see. You cradle it from another time, the rubber-covered wire coiled around your arm again. Outside, it is late afternoon, but your voice bears the sleepless weight of dawn. It is September, the season to remember the disappeared. And you ring the night watchman who doesn't pick up. Your finger makes precise movements in the air. The rotary phone spins back in silence. The next poem is called The Same Jewels. In this book, actually, I used a lot of popular culture references, songs, and movies, and this is one of them. It starts with a quotation from Taylor Swift, the pop singer, the American singer. Um, it's from her song "My Tears Ricochet." So I'm going to read. I'm going to open the file for you to see. Sorry, I can't find it. Not opening. Sorry. Is that okay? There we go. The Same Jewels. The song goes, "You wear the same jewels that I gave you as you bury me." The dogs are barking at nothing again, perhaps at the wind that tugs at the leaves ahead of their dew falling. Maybe dead stars stab the eyes of the dogs as they look up, sniffing in the expanding shadows. I could never read the minds of other people's dogs, could never see past their teeth. One researcher said they can sense bad people, or at least something close to rotting, as if none of us is forever on the boundaries of corruption, turning to carbon and other elements beyond the measure of science. A con sometimes, science, in the hands of those who trust instruments above the unseen and immeasurable, the few grams between the last breath and after. You and I, for all we claim to know, could be nothing but jewels in someone else's trinket box. A box lugged around, shaken, easily lost and forgotten in a dark corner, only remembered at random by a being far beyond our reckoning. A box, a coffin. I'm sure the dogs can hear me singing in my head as I walk past the fence that keeps them in, singing to fight the trembling as they snarl and snap at my swinging limbs, the first departed to be afraid of another living thing. Okay, so that's from the new book. And then I'm going to read now from the book that came out last year, which Robert Barrow's Deep South published, Blood Red Dragonflies. I'm going to read one of the shorter poems first. It's called The Wind is Not Strong Enough to Slam the Windows Shut. So let me just open the file. I had lots of fun and lots of heartache when Robert and I were working on this book. But in the end, I think the book speaks for itself. And thank you, Robert, for all your patience and the kindness and generosity that you showed towards me and my work, not just for this book, but through the years. So I just wanted to say, yeah, Robert is fantastic. As a poet, as an editor, as a friend. Okay, the wind is not strong enough to slam the windows shut. He roams a wilderness in his head, the way an astrophysicist, wary of drowning in darkness, might navigate numbers to reach a point in space. The veins on the back of his hands are roots that quiver when his heart quickens. It's a struggle to sleep, a struggle to stay awake. A neighbor's donkey cranks out a mechanical cry. He is reminded of empty chairs, of sheets on another bed, bearing shadows and creases. Okay, the next poem, I'm going to try another video to show you another video. This is called Consuelo Garcia, Please Stop. And I'm going to start it and then I'm going to show you, hopefully it works. Okay.
Consuelo Garcia, please stop. Consuelo Garcia, please stop inviting my mother to join you for a walk. She can barely shift her weight in the chair or on the bed. There are strangers who keep entering her room uninvited, not uttering a word to her, just standing around. She shoos them away, desperately asking them to leave her alone. There are even unknown children who climb into her bed, sitting and staring at her. I don't know how. She sees them when cataracts have clouded her eyes for years now. I'm not there to soothe my mother's fears. Consuelo Garcia, I'm asking you if you can hear me half a world away. Please do something. Weren't you her close friend? My sister says you passed away a decade ago. Please go.
Okay, Cindy, did that work?
That worked, and that was stunning.
Okay, all right, I'm glad. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna leave out because there's a few more videos coming up. The next poem is called Bladed Spurs. I don't know how many people are familiar with cockfighting. My dad was a cockfighter. He was actually a soldier. He was with the Philippine Air Force, but he never flew a plane. He was more ground staff. But he would be away for days and nights sometimes when they get, it was martial law when I grew up. So he gets called and gets placed somewhere we don't know. I mean, we don't know if he's going to come back or not. Anyway, he was a cockfighter, and we had at one point about 20 or so roosters under the house where we were living in the first house where I grew up. And usually I get to be the one to feed them. So this is a poem after that experience. I'm going to share you the text now. It's called Bladed spurs. There are 2 pages, so I have to remember to change to the next page after this. Bladed spurs. They lived in bamboo cages under the house. They heard our footsteps on the wooden floor, felt the dust coming down like rain between the slats. They must have regularly heard my mother screaming in a bad dream, my sisters fighting over a hairbrush or a shirt, my father cursing at a missed hoop shot on TV. But they never heard me. When I came down to feed them scoops of mixed grain in water with my bare hands, their eyes were shifty, as alert as when they are about to be thrown in the middle of a sandy ring. The shouts of jostling men and tears of wood and concrete around them, closing in with bets and spits, where death awaited in beaks and bladed spurs. My father would sometimes tell me to hold one of them as he trimmed down its comb. It covers an eye when it flops down too long, he explained. A handicap in a fight. The rooster's heart beat against my hands. The heat of skin beneath its feathers burned with a metallic shine. I'm going to show you a video. It's a simple one for the path of the wind. So let me just get that ready and then I'll share it with you. Path of the wind. Sorry, I'm very slow at this. Is it showing up? Sorry, Cindy, is it showing up?
It's about to, and you're doing very well with all of the the tech. It's showing up.
Is the cover of the book showing up right now? What's showing up right now?
Cover of the book, yes.
Okay, there we go.
The path, the wind. I have seen days when the wind weighs so heavy on trees, they bend close to breaking. A limb with greenest leaves or weakened by age would have to give in. The trunk may have to learn a new angle, sunward. Less apparent is the path the wind must make. It has to unravel, splitting itself into countless strands to navigate between each leaf, each branch.
Okay, hope that was clear enough. Cindy, was it clear enough? You could hear it.
Yes, it was.
Okay, all right. Okay. I'm gonna read the next poem. It's called Archipelago. And when I was a kid, I didn't know what it meant. So that's why there's a poem for it. It sort of summarizes the history of my country of birth. So here is Archipelago. Archipelago. From very young, sorry, the screen keeps covering something, sorry. Let me start again. Archipelago. From very young, it was drummed in our heads that my country was an archipelago. Think of a man about to lift a sack of rice, one teacher said. In high school, I saw the shape of Marcos, the dictator, and his loot. Hunched, he boards a US Air Force helicopter that bends the trees around the palace grounds before the mob at the gates break through. These days, it takes the shape of the new tyrant, his throat a howling wilderness. He coughs out curses, splattering them onto something leaning on his leg. One more victim bundled up with packaging tape. One day, I will visit my homeland again, as if from outer space. Behold, a string of emeralds on a tilted silver tray. Okay, the next one is another video. Hope you aren't sick of my amateur videos yet. It's called "We Will Not Allow the Dead to Be Silenced." Okay, I'm just gonna start it from the beginning. And sorry, I think I'm getting it wrong, Cindy.
It's there, but there are other screens, pages. Yeah, if you delete.
Okay, let me start again. Sorry. I can't find it. All right. What's that now? What's showing now, Cindy? There? What can you see?
I'm waiting for it. I can see a lot of pages. Oh, now it's right. Now it's good.
You're working.
I can see Deep South coming up.
Okay. And nothing else on the screen, just that.
Version 2, we will not allow. Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
We will not allow the dead to be silenced. The man who curses shall be cursed to live forever in the stories we shall tell our children. They will not fear him or his twisted reincarnations. Our children shall not be shaken by his threats. His attack dogs with teeth of bullets will not make us turn away and flee. Though the dead may be left unclaimed in morgues or dumped on the side of the road, their faces bound with packaging tape, they will never be silenced. The veins on their exposed necks and stiffened arms will turn to roots, and we who fight to remember the cruelty inflicted upon those we can no longer hold shall bear bitter fruit to be shoved down the tyrant's throat.
Okay, Cindy, did that work?
It did.
Oh, okay. Okay. How much time do I have?
I suppose you could go for another 10 if you want. I think you've got time.
Okay, great. That's fantastic, because I have one more video. This one, I'm now going into a previous book called How to Make a Salagubang Helicopter. The book itself is actually a condemnation of the Duterte regime, which with its policy of the war on drugs policy, ended up killing between 3,000 to 37,000 people. And hopefully the ICC, International Criminal Court, will go after him properly so that he goes at least to prison before he dies.
Sorry,
But
Ed.
yeah,
Sorry, Jim. I said another 10 minutes. I should have said another 5 minutes. Sorry about that.
5 minutes is perfect. It's fine. It's fine. I can make it. Okay. Okay. The video is Breathing Whole. It has nothing to do with the war on drugs by Duterte. I just thought maybe you guys would prefer this over the bloody ones that I wrote. So I'm gonna start it. Is that working? Can you see the cover of the book, Cindy?
I can.
Okay.
Breathing whole after Kieslowski's White. A broken heart is a suitcase with a breathing hole. You go home seeing no more than the size of a thumbprint in a passport you've lost. To speak to her again would mean learning a new language, finding your way out of a dump, negotiating with people until you trust your nose once more. But first, you have to tumble out of that suitcase.
Okay. Was that clear enough? Cindy, was that all right?
Yes.
Okay, okay. I'm gonna read maybe another 2 poems if that's fine with you guys, and then I'll stop so that yeah, maybe you've had enough of me. The first one is called The Keys. No, sometimes sadness has no face. Let me find that poem. All right. Sharing now. Sometimes sadness has no face. The sun is high and your own shadow hides under your feet. There are knives, small as needles, slowly going deeper into the roots of your hair. You pass the bright display window of a shop. It looks like your skin is being held back on the cold glass. Though you stare at your own eyes, there's someone else you see. With eyes closed, you desire to wake up in another world, not this, alone. There are many who bump against your arm, shoulder, elbow. None of them have a history linked to yours, no matter how close their skin feels that moment. The way back is not the way home. This you keep forgetting. Okay, I'm going to end with the poem called To Be an Orc. And hopefully it speaks for itself. Sorry, I'm just trying to find it now. All right, it comes. Sorry, I can't find it now suddenly. To be an orc. Okay, there we go. There. Is that trying to be an orc?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. To be an orc. Sit patiently on a chair like the others. Whatever skin you show must be made to look like old leather, dredged from stagnant sewers. An electric razor will ravage your scalp so a misshapen skull can be plastered over. Your nose and ears will be layered with latex, the texture of gravel. If
You should have speaking lines on camera. You must learn to bear those jagged dental prosthetics. Flick that blackened tongue. You'll wear grease-smeared rags and a helmet that won't stay on as you run while being filmed so close to a cliff. You will die in different locations again. Your own mother will not recognize you among the scattered bodies in the panoramic sweep of smoldering battlefields.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that reading, Jim. May I invite everybody in the room to unmute and maybe put on your video camera so we can give you a round of applause. Right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jim. It's always so lovely to hear you read because you take us through a whole gamut of emotions and voices and different media, very multimodal styles of delivering poetry, which I think is so exciting and so important. And it's good to see how you play with not just the page, but also visuals and voice and all of it and cinematic experimentation. So I really appreciate your risk taking. I really appreciate the risks you take in your writing, in the delivery of your work, and yeah, and just the different ways in which you play with different mediums of delivering your work. So with that being said, it is now time for the Q&A, and I open it up to the floor. Are there any questions, comments, some praise, whatever it may be? Raise your hand, and yeah, take it away. Thank you again, Jim.
Thank you, Cindy.
And you did very well without having your regular glasses on. So, well done.
Sorry, all my eye bags are showing. Sorry.
Are there any questions in the room? Georgia.
Hi, Jim. Hi there. Thanks
Hello.
for a lovely reading. It was a real journey. I loved it. I want to go and read more immediately. And I just wanted to ask you, on the basis of your last poem, did you actually do that? Were you an orc?
What do you mean? Did I do that?
Did you go and wear that makeup and actually do that in the film?
No. I wish.
It was so convincing. I was really convinced that you must have done it, that you must have had the part.
Thanks. So imagine.
Thanks so much. It was really wonderful.
Thanks, Georgia. Is there anybody? Jacques, there you are. And Julie, did you raise your hand? Yes, you did. Okay, Jacques and then Julie.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. Never know with this thing. I'm interested in how your poems speak about the dead. Your poems speak very movingly about the dead in general, dead people in general, but also your personal dead. I'm very interested in how it's almost as if your poems speak about, you know, I think your poems speak about a duty that we have to them. I'm interested in that. I wonder if you want to say something about it. And then a poem that really moved me was the one about your father, the cockfighter. It's an incredible.
Yeah.
I don't even know what I want to say about it. Were you holding this rooster at the end, and it's as if you belong to your father's world at that moment, but also very deeply, you know, you don't, because it's clear from the start that you're not going to be a cockfighter. And
Oh,
you want to say something about how you came to write that poem. It's an incredible poem for me.
well, I actually don't like writing autobiographical pieces,
Right.
and but I still end up doing them anyway. But often I try to mix imagined situations with actual ones. But with that one, it was actually too autobiographical. It disturbs me a little bit. All the details are practically true. Yeah, there's nothing there that I didn't experience. So I think that's why it sounds more authentic. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but yeah, I hated taking care of them.
Would you like to, I
To
mean,
be honest.
you know why you prefer not to write autobiographically?
Because I a lot of people do that, and they're horrible mostly. When people just talk about themselves again and again, it's
Yes.
very tiring and it's very limiting. And yeah, so I try to avoid it, but sometimes I can't. So that's yeah.
If you can do it like that, it's
Thank you.
okay.
I think it's lazy to just do autobiographical stuff. You know, there's so much to imagine and to experience and to explore. If you're gonna stay with this autobiographical stuff, I think you're limiting yourself. That's
Mm,
my own perspective.
mm.
Nice. Thank you, Shah.
Thank you.
Julie.
Yes, hi. That was lovely, Tim. Thank you so much. And I do agree with you about the biographical stuff. My question, tell us more about the prize that you won. Sorry if I'm not quite informed.
It's an annual book competition put up by a small press in New York called Gaudy Boy, and the guy who owns the press is a Singaporean, but he moved to US so that he can escape the terrible situation in Singapore against gays and other things. Okay, and the award itself is given to anyone who has some Asian heritage, no matter how small, maybe the percentage of your blood of Asian background. You know, as long as you can say that, it's up to you if you're Asian or not. You enter this competition, and then a judge, a well-known judge. That last year it was uh, an editor called Yokai Chai, I think his name, and then he chose my manuscript. I actually didn't expect it. I didn't think it would win, and then when they announced it on the day, I it was an online event. I couldn't say anything. I giggled and laughed and then I said thank you, and then I kept on giggling. They had to cut me off because I didn't know what else to say. It was
Well,
fun.
congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. And congratulations, Jim. That's wonderful. Are there any
There was a
other
prize money, but I forgot to say there was a prize money. It was $1,500 US, but I used most of it when I went to the US.
Very
So,
nice. Very nice.
anyway,
Are there any other questions or comments in the room? Okay, well, while everybody gathers their question, I always have to write my questions down because I'm long-winded. I'm going to try and make this succinct. But I suppose I've heard you read several times, and like I said in the beginning, I met you on the page long before I ever had the pleasure of meeting you in person and hearing you in person. And so I'm so interested, and I think all of us as writers in the room are interested in this thing of voice, because I'm interested in the voice of like the orc voice and the different voices that have a kind of a sinister, almost subterranean voice that you take on in some of your poems. And this, like, the first time I heard that voice, it kind of, I immediately was thinking of Gollum from Lord of the Rings, but it's a different type of. It's similar, but not the same. It's your voice. It's your voice, and so I think what interests me the most about that voice is so unexpected, and that when I hear you speak, or when I hear that poem spoken in that particular voice, that there's violence in that voice at times, but there's also a sense of pain and woundedness that I also hear in that sort of sinister, darker voice. And so I was just wondering if you could speak about the sort of risks you take with voice and where that particular voice came from, if if you're willing to share that with us.
That's quite a tough one. Ever since I was a kid, I've always loved pretending I'm someone else, something else, and I'd make different voices. I grew up with 3 sisters. I'm the only boy, and I sort of felt like I was on my own. So I played with my Lego pieces, and I played with branches and leaves to turn them into people, and I made conversations between them. So I think that basically grew into my poetry too. I've got a poem called "The Man Who Wished He Were Lego," for instance. Okay, and I've got bugs that talk, or a poem about insects, and I I like taking on different voices. And to be an orc, originally it was just like, oh, it's just taking off from the Lord of the Rings. And then a friend said, oh, you know what? It actually is about the extrajudicial killings happening in the Philippines too. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, you're right, it is. But because it took on its own voice, I basically had no control where it was going to go. It had to decide itself, where it was going to go. Once you take that voice, you have to surrender to it. And yeah, with taking a topic like that and that voice, it just went as dark as it could in comic dark situations as well. So I think, yeah, that's the only way I can answer that.
No,
I
that's
like
great.
making voice.
No, thank you for that. I think as writers, we're always trying to have our voices change, but you really are. There's a sort of freedom, and you make these incredible decisions that I really admire, and I envy the sort of ways in which your voice changes with all the different poems. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions before we take a break?
I'd like to hear from Robert.
Yes, Robert is here.
Douglas. Oops, chair's falling.
I don't. You can hear from me, but I'm not. Yeah, Jim. I always like one of the things I like about Jim's poetry is the how can I sort of describe it? It's the way it goes out of focus, or the way it goes. It kind of goes into different tones, which don't seem to coincide with what's being described. In other words, I often find the words, the description and the physicality of it very precise. The tone goes into strange distortions, some of them quite dark, and together the kind of, it's almost like the meaning of the words and the tones of the words form a kind of duet, or kind of double voiced kind of thing. which I find very fascinating. So it's partly what you said about the Orc poem, but it's also about the more serious poems too. And as you mentioned, Cindy, the fact that the dead have a voice, sort of underground voice that comes through all the time as well. It's a very interesting way of writing. Right, you've heard from me too.
Thanks for that, Robert. It's good to see you in the room. It's always so lovely when poets read and then their publishers are in the room showing love. So that's really lovely. Douglas, take it away.
I just wanted to ask Jim whether or not the language with which he grew up was Tagalog or
Filipino.
English as a second language, and perhaps you have a third language, and how those languages talk to one another internally and enable you to express that variety of voice.
Okay, I grew up with Filipino. It is based on Tagalog originally. Now it's more national. It's called Filipino, and English early on. And we actually got taught by this Jesuit priest, Irish American Jesuit priest. He read to us. He taught us to memorize tons and tons of poetry, and in English. And then at the same time, he said, you mustn't forget your roots. So you must keep Filipino. You must be good in both. Use English to open doors for yourself. And I think that's why Filipinos are easy to get along with when they go overseas, because they speak English much better than other Asians tend to. My Filipino poetry, I actually used to write Filipino and English at the same time. Now my Filipino poetry has lagged behind because I don't have anyone to speak Filipino to in South Africa. I used to translate my poems between Filipino and English so that to sort of enrich both sides of me. But now, yeah, with writing less and less in Filipino, I think my English has, taken over. In terms of what I write, I find my Filipino poetry a bit more sentimental than my English poetry. Because the Filipino language itself is very sentimental. It's too easy to rhyme. It almost every single word ends with an A in Filipino or Tagalog. So I was rebelling against that. I was trying to write poetry that didn't rhyme at all in Filipino. And yeah, that is one thing. And it sort of helped that I was writing in English at the same time, because then I managed to break away from that traditional rhyming schemes that they had and explore images and ideas instead of just sentiments and rhyming. So I don't know if that answers it, or my parents know Ilocano. I only know a few curse words in Ilocano. And then I was forced to learn Spanish in university. I don't remember anything because I didn't want to learn it. So yeah, it was my own loss. But those are the only languages I know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. Thank you, Jim. If there are no more questions, I think we will bring this part of our evening to a close. Jim, thank you so much. I wasn't scheduled to be the host tonight, but unfortunately, a fellow Wheelbarrow member was ill. But I'm very happy that I got to be in conversation with you and got to host you and got to hear your work. And it's always such a joy when you come to the Red Wheelbarrow Poetry Collective and share your writing with us. And we just appreciate the range of your writing in terms of the content, the voice, the genre. We just really appreciate how you push poetry forward and experiment in all these wonderful ways. Charles, I do see your hand. Do you have a last question you want to squeeze in?
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I was a bit slow on getting my hand up, but anyway, it's there now. Anyway, Jim, as per normal, was a wonderful reading. I really loved a lot of the poems. I just thought outside of you, we don't really know much about other writings coming out of the Philippines. Is there sort of like an overriding themes that are coming out of there, or other writers writing poems about the same thing as you, or are you just sort of completely different to what other writers are writing in the Philippines?
Okay. The contemporary stuff, I actually don't know because I've sort of lost touch. But yes, there's a lot of writing going on. It used to be more the English poetry gets more attention because it's like what do you call this? The upper classes use English and the lower classes use Filipino. And I came from a poor background, so I was playing with both long before other people. There was a big divide before. Now I think it's more fluid. People know that they don't have to be ashamed of their local language, whatever it is. So they're writing more in that language, in the language they grew up in, and at the same time translating them to English to open doors, to open it up to the rest of the world. So I think there's something quite exciting going on right now, and quite a few of them have been published in the States, in the UK, in Europe. But I think, as far as I know, I'm the only one in Africa who's put out a book or whose book was not self-published. There are quite a few people who have published their own. They're from the Philippines. They're in Africa somewhere. But I think my Blood Red Dragonflies from Deep South is the very first Filipino South African book, and I hope I sound more unique than anyone else from the Philippines. That that it stands out somehow. A lot of them write about love and politics. Those are the two things that they write: love and politics. And I hope I'm not just doing that.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, it's wonderful. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Charles, for that last question. It was wonderful. And one more round of applause for you. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for being here.